You don't need more time. You need 1 hour that you protect, like your life depends on it. Because right now, your life isn't yours. It belongs to emails, to noise, to everything and every except you. Every day, you wake up and give your best hour away, before you even know what matters. What if that 1 hour done right could rebuild your focus, your clarity, your direction? That's the hour Elon Musk used to save Tesla, and the one you're still giving away for free. Let's pause here. If that line unsettled you, good, it should. Because we've been sold a lie for years that success is about doing more, saying yes more, grinding more. But look closer. Behind every burnout, every midlife crisis, every whisper of, "I don't know who I am anymore," there's something deeper. Not laziness, not failure, but leakage. That quiet, invisible drain that happens before you even open your laptop. Let me show you how it starts. You wake up. Before your feet even hit the floor, you reach for your phone. One notification becomes three emails become 10 tabs. Your mind, once calm, is now scattered. And just like that, the day has already taken you. You're no longer deciding, you're reacting. Your attention, your most precious currency, is already gone. And here's the dangerous part. You tell yourself, "I haven't started yet." But you have. You just started by surrendering your mind to the noise. That is the death of agency. Elon Musk knew this not in theory, but in crisis. After his rockets exploded on live television, after public humiliation and private collapse, he didn't work harder. He didn't hustle longer. He protected one sacred hour every morning, like it was oxygen. 1 hour of no distractions, no noise, no Slack, no meetings, just thinking, strategy, clarity. Not busy, but deliberate. He didn't need more hours. He needed an hour that meant something. And the result? That hour became a mental war room, a place to rewire direction, to stop reacting and start deciding. A space where he wasn't CEO of Tesla or SpaceX, but simply a man trying to solve one meaningful problem at a time. Now ask yourself this. When was the last time you had 1 hour where no one could reach you? 1 hour that wasn't interrupted, borrowed, or drained? For most people, the answer is never. And that's why this message matters not just for productivity, but for survival. Not survival in the physical sense, but in the Stoic sense. Survival of self-direction. The ability to choose your focus, your values, your way of life before the world chooses for you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" But you can't ask that if you never slow down long enough to hear your own thoughts. That's why this hour matters. Because without it, you drift. And drifting doesn't feel dramatic. It feels like emails. It feels like being needed. It feels like you're doing your job, being responsible. But under the surface, you're bleeding time, bleeding purpose, bleeding clarity. This is the truth we rarely say out loud. You're not overwhelmed because you have too much to do. You're overwhelmed because you have no protected space to think. And in a world that demands reaction, thinking is rebellion. So here's where we begin. Not with hustle, not with checklists, but with 1 hour yours, and yours alone. Tomorrow morning, you reclaim it. Don't ask for permission. Don't wait for a crisis. Build the wall, shut the door, and start with one question. What am I pretending not to know? We live in a culture that worships busy. We wear it like a badge. Ask someone how they're doing, and the default answer isn't good anymore. It's busy. Meetings, errands, emails, crisis. We're always doing, always moving. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Movement isn't the same as progress. That was Elon Musk in the early days. flat broke, sleeping on a futon in a shared apartment, building zip 2. Every hour was filled. Meetings, code, emails, more code, no sleep, repeat. 12, 14, 16 hours a day. But here's what he admitted. I wasn't making progress, I was just busy. And that's the trap. You're not failing because you're lazy. You're failing because you're effective at the wrong things for too long. That sentence should stop you. How much of your day is spent responding to the world instead of creating your own? How much energy is wasted on shallow tasks that make you feel productive, but leave you empty? The Stoics warned us about this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." But most people never pause long enough to ask that first question. They skip straight to the doing without clarity of becoming. That's how a life gets lost in motion. We chase inbox 0. We obsess over checking things off. We optimize calendars. We automate notifications. We track, plan, schedule, but we don't stop. And here's what no one wants to admit. Busyness is the safest way to avoid doing the one thing that really matters. Because when you're busy, you don't have to face the hard questions. You don't have to admit you're lost. You don't have to confront the directionless ambition that's been driving you for years. Just keep moving, keep reacting, keep drowning in the shallow stuff, and you'll never have to feel the weight of what you've abandoned. That was Elon's breaking point. I remember this one night. I had worked 12 hours that day. But you know what? I didn't solve anything. I was reacting, not building. He wasn't designing his life. He was surviving it. And so are you. Maybe not with rockets and billion-dollar bets, but in your own way. You wake up, and the world hijacks your focus before you even remember what you care about. And by the time the day ends, you've checked boxes but lost ground. This is why the 1-hour rule exists. Not to help you do more, but to help you stop long enough to know what matters again. That 1 hour is a mirror. And most people avoid mirrors because they show what we've been pretending not to see. Let me ask you something. If someone followed you around with a camera for 7 days and analyzed how you spent your best hour of the day, would they say you're building something or just reacting? Would they say you're designing your future or being swept along in someone else's? See, 1 hour of depth can reveal what 12 hours of noise will always hide. Who you're becoming. And that is the essence of Stoic discipline, not perfection, not hyper-productivity, but clarity of direction. To aim your will before you act. To protect the mental ground on which every meaningful decision is made. So, if you're tired, if you feel like you're running but going nowhere good, that's your signal. Because the worst kind of exhaustion isn't physical. It's existential. And the cure is never more tasks. The cure is clarity. And that begins with protecting 1 hour. Just one. Because the moment you stop reacting, you start reclaiming. 1 hour. That's all it took. Not a course, not a breakthrough, not some magic morning routine. Just 60 minutes. No distractions, no noise, no meetings, no email, no phone. Just one chair, one question, one clear space to think. Elon Musk called it the first time I could actually hear myself think. And that changed everything. Before that, he was stuck in the noise like most of us. The outer world dictated every move. His schedule was a battlefield. His focus, non-existent. And yet, he was always working. Always tired. Always busy. But never building. That's the difference. There's something you feel when you finally give your brain space to breathe. Like fog lifting, like chaos falling silent. That moment when the buzzing stops, and what's left is you. In neuroscience, this shift is real. Your brain has two modes. The default mode network, it's what runs when you're daydreaming, drifting, scrolling, reacting. The prefrontal cortex, your command center, it only switches on when you think with intention. The problem, most people never stay in silence long enough to activate that command center. They live in loops. React, scroll, reply, numb. All default, no direction. But in that protected hour, something else happens. You stop drifting. You start deciding. It becomes a lab, a forge, a sacred ground where noise isn't welcome and signal finally speaks. That's where clarity lives. That's where Elon saw SpaceX differently, where Tesla's direction crystallized, not during a board meeting, not in a brainstorm, but in the silence before the day began with a pen in hand and a blank page. And if that sounds dramatic, good. Because the real drama isn't out there. It's inside when you realize that you've been outsourcing your direction to noise for years. This is why the 1 hour rule works. Not because you're doing more, but because you're thinking deeper. And deep thinking is a lost art. When was the last time you sat down, no agenda, no noise, and just wrestled with one idea? Not multitasked, not Googled, just sat with it, fully. Felt the discomfort of not knowing. Then slowly started hearing your own answers. That's what this hour is for. It's not productivity, it's sovereignty. Because the longer you live on autopilot, the further you drift from the person you're meant to become. And that's what makes this hour sacred. It's not an optimization hack. It's an act of resistance. Resistance against a world that trains you to respond before you reflect. That tells you to react before you even understand. That rewards speed over wisdom, movement over meaning. But not here. Not in this hour. This hour is yours. So you build the wall. And inside that wall, something strange happens. Your mind quiets. Your body slows. And in that stillness, the signal returns. You stop solving 100 small problems and start seeing the one problem that actually matters. And if you solve that, everything else shifts. That's the moment the needle moves. And it doesn't take 12 hours. It takes 1. Done right. So tomorrow morning, before the inbox, before the world barges in, you shut the door. You sit down and you ask, what's the one thing in my life I keep saying I'll do when I have time? Because that is the thing your hour was made for. So you did it. You woke up early. You blocked the hour. No phone, no inbox, no noise. You followed the rule perfectly. But then, something unexpected happens. You sit down, and nothing comes. No breakthrough, no spark, just a racing brain and a blank page. You try to focus, you try to push, but your mind drifts. You're restless, you feel stuck, and worst of all, you feel guilty. I've built the habit. Why does it feel like nothing is moving? That's the question Elon Musk asked himself after months of protecting that sacred hour. He had the system, the ritual, the discipline. But one morning, he sat down and there was nothing. No clarity, no signal, just noise from within. And that is a terrifying moment, because it reveals something most people don't want to face. You can build the habit and still be lost. You can follow the rule and still have no direction. It's like building a rocket with no coordinates. Impressive engines, beautiful fuel systems, but nowhere to go. That's what Elon realized. He didn't need more discipline. He needed aim. And that, right there, is the great deception of modern self-help. We obsess over structure, but forget purpose. We become masters of routine but amateurs of meaning. And the Stoics would have called this out in an instant. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you don't have a consistent goal in life, you can't live it in a consistent way." In other words, your hour means nothing if you don't know what it's for. This is the quiet tragedy of high performers. They have the calendar, the systems, the journal, the early wake-up. But under it all, there's no true target, no inner compass. And so they chase output instead of alignment. More to-dos, more optimization, but no answer to the deeper question, toward what end? That's the drift. The dangerous drift that looks like progress, feels like discipline, but leads nowhere. Elon had to face this. So do you. Because the only thing more exhausting than chaos is structure without direction. That's the part no one talks about. It's why some people meditate every morning and still feel anxious by noon. Why journaling becomes mechanical. Why routines feel dead. Because without inner clarity, even the best systems become empty rituals. So, how do you fix it? How do you go from doing the hour to actually owning it? Elon found the answer in a single, brutal question. Before every session, he started asking, what am I pretending not to know? Not what's on the to-do list. Not what's urgent, but the uncomfortable truth hiding just under the surface. That one question exposed everything. The lies he told himself. I need more time. It's not the right moment. I need more research. All BS. Because deep down, he already knew. You do too. But knowing isn't the hard part. Admitting it is. And that's the function of the hour. Not to look productive, but to get honest. Honest about what you're avoiding. Honest about the thing you keep pushing off. Honest about where your rocket is supposed to go. Because until you name the destination, the habit stays hollow. So here's your moment. Stop asking, did I show up for my hour? Start asking, did I face what matters? Because showing up without aim is just movement. But showing up with honesty, that's momentum. There's a moment, and you'll know when it happens. When the noise falls quiet, and a small voice rises inside you. Not loud, not dramatic, but sharp, direct, unavoidable. It asks, what are you pretending not to know? That one question changed Elon Musk's entire approach to his sacred hour, because it didn't ask him to be productive. It didn't ask him to plan better or do more. It demanded honesty. Radical, uncomfortable, skin-stripping honesty. That he did know the problem. That he was delaying the decision. That he could act, but kept hiding behind reasons that sounded smart and felt safe. He wasn't stuck because the answer wasn't there. He was stuck because he was scared to admit he already had it. And so are you. The human mind is brilliant at self-deception. We distract ourselves with clarity-seeking rituals, journaling, reading, strategizing, when in truth we're buying time. Delaying the confrontation. Because once you admit the truth, something shifts. There's no more hiding. No more polishing. No more, I'll get to it later. There's only the problem and what you'll now do about it. And that scares people more than failure. Carl Jung said it perfectly. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people blame fate. They blame time. They blame distraction. But what if the real culprit is avoidance? Avoiding the project, avoiding the decision, avoiding the truth that you've outgrown your current life, and it's time to rebuild from the inside out. This is the moment where the 1-hour rule becomes more than a productivity hack. It becomes a mirror, a space where the masks drop, where there's nowhere left to run, where you come face to face with the one thing you've danced around for years. And once you ask that question, what am I pretending not to know? You can't unhear it. It lingers. It follows you. It cuts through your justifications and your careful distractions. But here's the beauty. It also gives you power. Because when you face the truth, you stop drifting. You start acting with alignment. Not because someone told you to, but because you said so. That's the Stoic way. Epictetus didn't tell you what to think. He told you to look inward relentlessly and question everything you assumed to be true. Because self-deception is the deepest prison. And truth, brutal as it may be, is the only door out. So tomorrow, before you sit for your hour, don't ask, what should I work on? Ask, what truth have I been avoiding? What decision have I postponed? What fear have I dressed up as logic? And then, just sit with it. No solving, no fixing, just facing. Because clarity doesn't always come in answers. It often comes in the willingness to ask questions that hurt. And the person willing to feel that discomfort, willing to sit in the honesty, is the person who finally becomes dangerous. Not to others, to the lie they've been living. So if you've made it this far, here's your moment. Close your eyes, breathe, and whisper, I know. That's where everything starts. So now you've faced the truth. You've asked the hard question. You've committed to the hour. But here's what no one tells you. You will lose it. Not in the middle, but in the 5 minutes before it even begins. That's what happened to Elon. He had the ritual, the space, the habit. But one morning, he made a small exception. Just 5 minutes on Slack, he told himself. And that destroyed the hour. His mind was no longer his. It was theirs, hijacked before it even had a chance to breathe. And this is the enemy of the 1 hour rule. Not laziness, not lack of discipline, but leakage. Tiny, invisible decisions that drain your willpower before you even start. One glance at the inbox, one text message, one quick check of the news. And suddenly, the hour is gone not in action, but in infiltration. This is why rituals fail, not because they're weak, but because they're unprotected. So Elon built a system, a 3-layer fortress around his most important hour. And when you study it, you realize this isn't just smart, it's Stoic. Layer 1, ritual trigger, signal to the mind. Every morning, same time, same chair, same pen. This wasn't about superstition. It was about priming the brain, telling it, now we think. In psychology, this is anchoring. In Stoicism, it's ritual discipline. Marcus Aurelius did the same, rising early, writing in his journal not because he loved mornings, but because he trained himself to meet the day with intention. The message is simple. You don't ask yourself if you feel like thinking. You press the button and go. No debate, no delay, just action. Layer 2, environmental simplicity. Make your space beg for focus. Next, Elon removed every object that didn't serve his thinking. No tech, no clutter, no visual noise. Just one item in front of him, the mission of the day. Because when your brain sees chaos, it feels chaos. This is deeper than minimalism. It's about psychological clarity. Clean environment, clean cognition. And again, the Stoics knew this. Seneca wrote about how luxury and noise corrupt the soul. He warned that your surroundings shape your character faster than your beliefs. So look around you. Is your space fighting for your attention or guarding it? Layer 3, boundary declaration. Train the world to respect your hour. This one changed everything. Elon told his team, this hour is sacred. It is not to be interrupted under any circumstance. At first, it felt extreme, but something remarkable happened. People respected it, because he respected it. This is the Stoic lesson on boundaries. Don't wait for others to give you space. You declare it, and then enforce it with conviction. Because if you don't guard your time, the world will take it with a smile. Your clients, your kids, your notifications, none of them are malicious, but all of them are demanding. And here's the harsh truth. The world doesn't care about your sacred hour. It's your job to make it sacred. And that means doing what's uncomfortable, saying no, turning things off, closing the door not just physically, but psychologically. Because the 1 hour rule is only as strong as its protection. Without these 3 layers, you're vulnerable. With them, you're fortified. And that's not just productivity. That's philosophy. That's agency. You're no longer reacting. You're choosing. You've built your inner citadel and sealed the gates. So tomorrow, don't just show up for your hour. Defend it. Let's be honest. You don't lose your day in one giant collapse. You lose it in moments. 5 seconds here, a scroll there, a tab you didn't need to open. One glance, one notification, one conversation you knew you didn't need to have. And suddenly, the day has drifted. You don't even notice it at first. You think, I'm still in control. But by the time you look up, your best energy is gone. And with it, your agency. This is what Elon Musk learned the hard way. One morning at Tesla, I walked in, shut the door, opened my laptop, and checked email. 10 messages, 5 fires, and just like that, my hour was gone before it began. That wasn't sabotage from someone else. That was self-sabotage. And it wasn't dramatic. It was ordinary. Because that's how leakage works. Not in explosions. In erosion. Tiny actions. Harmless seeming. But they bleed you slowly, invisibly, until your will is no longer yours. The Stoics knew this enemy well. They warned not of big vices, but of subtle distractions. Seneca said, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." Read that again. You protect your car, your money, your passwords. But your mental focus? You leave the door wide open. You don't even realize you've given it away until it's too late. Here's how leakage works. You say yes when you mean no. You check just one thing before the deep work. You stay in a room that's noisy, chaotic, distracting. You tell yourself, I'll start when I feel ready. These aren't bad habits. They're identity cracks. Because every time you betray your own boundary, you send a message to yourself. My attention is negotiable. And once your brain believes that, the erosion begins. That's why building the habit isn't enough. You have to protect the habit from yourself. This is where most people fall. They do everything right but leave the gate open 5 minutes too long. They underestimate the cost of just checking, and they lose the hour before it starts. So, what's the solution? You can't rely on motivation. You can't rely on mood. You need a system, and more than that, a mindset. You must become a guardian of your space, of your rituals, but most of all of your mind. This means designing for friction, putting your phone in another room, blocking apps during your hour, saying, I'm not available, and meaning it. Writing one question on paper the night before so there's no debate in the morning. You must assume the battle starts before the hour begins, and you must win before the first thought is even formed. Because if you don't, someone else will win it for you. And that's the brutal truth. If you don't claim your attention, the world already has. Not because it's evil, but because it's hungry. The world feeds on your drift, and it's not going to stop. So you must. You must become so intentional that even your silence is defended. That's what Stoicism looks like today. Not just composure in chaos, but design in the ordinary. And once you build that, you stop leaking. You stop explaining. You stop doubting. Because now, you're sealed. And that's the moment your hour stops being vulnerable and starts being non-negotiable. Let's come full circle. Remember what we said at the start? Your life isn't yours. It belongs to noise, to emails, to everything except you. That was true until now. Because now, you've seen the system. You've faced the question. You've built the walls. You've stood guard at the gates. And in that hour, that one sacred hour, something has changed. Not the world, not the people around you. You. You're no longer reacting by default. You're deciding by design. You've gone from autopilot to architect, from leaking willpower to commanding it, from asking, "What should I do?" to declaring, "This is what I choose." And that's the shift no algorithm can measure, but your soul can feel. Because when you claim your hour, you're not just reclaiming time, you're reclaiming identity. Elon Musk said, "That hour gave me back my agency," not because he built a better to-do list, but because he stepped away from the noise long enough to hear himself again. And that's what I want for you. Not to hustle more, not to chase endless achievement, but to come home to your own voice, your own focus, your own direction. Because a rocket is only powerful if it knows where it's going. And so are you. So tomorrow morning, before your inbox, before your notifications, before the world starts talking, be silent. Sit down. One chair. One question. 1 hour. No excuses. No escape. And for those 60 minutes, protect it like your life depends on it. Because, in a way, it does. Not the life you're performing, but the life you're meant to live. And if you do that, day after day, breath by breath, you won't need more time. You'll have something better. Time that means something. So, here's your challenge. Try the 1 hour rule for 7 days. Just 1 hour a day. No noise. No distractions. Just thinking. Just choosing. Just building what matters. And when you do come back here, tell me what changed. Drop it in the comments. I read them. Not for me, but for the others watching, just like you, quietly wondering if it's too late to take their life back. Let them see it's not. Because 1 hour won't just change your schedule, it will change your trajectory. And if you can change your trajectory, you can change everything. So protect your hour and rebuild your clarity.